like that. See? Hi everyone, really happy to be live with Sean Watkin. Do you want to start us off, Sean, with an intro to you and your debut book?
Yeah, so I'm Sean Watkin. Hello. I wrote this book over a period of 4 years while I was studying for a master's and working full time at the same time. And got to a point where I thought, this is it. I need to get this out to agents, and that's what I did. And here it is in all of its glory. Blackwater Rising is a story about two detectives in Liverpool who have got some issues, shall we say, and they have to start working together again to solve a series of crimes involving teenage girls across Merseyside who have gone missing, and then they end up, or they're found dead somewhere along the River Mersey. It's the really short version.
You found a good publisher in Canelo as well to get started with.
Do you know, Canelo have been absolutely great. They've been wonderful. They've been really patient. This is my debut, so I'm new to the industry, and I have had a lot of questions to ask. And they were sort of really great with me and really patient, and were able to answer me and reassure me, so that I felt better about the entire process. But yeah, a wonderful, wonderful team.
So before we get into the book, how did it feel seeing the copies of it, like the physical copies for the first time?
It was insane. So the first copies I received were in the post in a box, and it was sort of like Christmas. I was at work at the time, and I worked from home, and they arrived, and it was like unboxing them like it was Christmas morning and peeling back the bubble wrap, and then there they all were, and I was like, oh my God, this is insane! Like, to see my name on the top of this absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous cover that I absolutely adore was insane. And then when it actually came out and people were sending me photos of it in bookshops, that was even worse, even more exciting. I just had to go into News from Nowhere, which is a lovely little indie bookshop on Bold Street in Liverpool, to see it for myself in the wild. So yeah, it was a really bizarre but lovely experience.
Did you offer to sign the copies for them?
No, I felt too embarrassed. So I just sort of like, there was this woman who was next to me, and I just went, "This is my book." And she was like, "Oh, really?" And then she was really kind and asked me a few questions about it. I'm sure she just wanted to browse and then leave. And then, no, I just went and bought a copy like an idiot instead of asking could I sign it. I was too embarrassed.
Did you tell them that you were the
Yes,
author?
I did, and they were very happy that I was there, which was really really nice. And I bought a copy to send to my friend in Australia. Um, but yeah, it was such a bizarre experience and a little bit embarrassing to say to someone, this is my book, and I'm the writer, and I've come to see it in your bookshop.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it feels like, but I think I'd want to be like, this is mine.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an element of that. Super excited to see it in there, especially in an indie bookshop. It's great to see it in Waterstones and WH Smith, but seeing it in an indie bookshop in the city where you're from, and where you've set the novel is like a whole nother level, I think.
Um, I I was wondering about that. Like, I don't feel like Liverpool has got that many crime kind of fiction authors writing their books set there. I
I
might be
think
wrong. You might come out and tell me that there's loads. Like, there's some cracking crime authors that way, but I don't know how many set their books in Liverpool.
So there are a few, and one name that sticks out for me is Luca Vesti. He started writing crime set in Liverpool and based here. But at the moment, I think the only crime writers I see writing in and around and about Liverpool are people who are self-published, and not really anyone that I've noticed through traditional publishing channels at the moment. But I feel like that might change with I think Liverpool is going through a period of renaissance at the moment with TV shows like The Responder and The City Is Ours. So I just feel like you might see a little bit more of that coming soon, which is not a bad thing. But then it sort of gets the market sort of gets oversaturated with it, doesn't it? And people get fed up of it. So I kind of hope that that doesn't happen, so that I can have a few more De Silva and Barkley adventures.
Yeah, Luca Veste was the only other person I could think of who'd got
Uh,
stuff set in Liverpool.
Yeah, I think there are a few. I can't think of the names off the top of my head. I'm afraid, but there are a few that I know I've read. But yeah, I can't think of the names off the top of my head. I'm sure people will let us know how wrong we are.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, there's Sarah Moorhead, who is Liverpudlian, but her books are not set.
Yeah, I love Sarah Moorhead. She gave me loads and loads of advice when writing this novel, and also told me off when things were not very good, which I appreciate. But yeah, Sarah Moorhead's writes a very different type of crime novel than I do. But yeah, she's a phenomenal writer, a lovely person. Can't get enough of Ms. Moorhead.
No, me not either. I'm on the verge of like getting a kind of restraining order, probably. I'm like one of her biggest fans.
Oh, that's so
I love her
nice.
books. They're amazing.
Yeah, she's such a great writer, really, really gifted world builder. And her characters are just so interesting. Really, really phenomenal stuff. I can't wait for her next book.
I think there's a lot of really good Northern crime writing at the moment. Like we had kind of Scottish crime writing, didn't we? And then like and I think we're getting like a proper Northern powerhouse now of like really good crime authors.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely are. I'm just thinking of people like Trevor Wood, Michael Wood, Sarah Moorhead, Chris McDonald. There is it's endless. Like
Yeah,
there's just so many out there at the moment, and it's great. It's great to see the north of England all over crime fiction. Like it's so exciting, and I feel like every week you can find a brand new northern crime writer who has got something unique and amazing to say in their books. And I'm sort of new to crime, which is weird, I know, as a crime writer, but so I'm still discovering authors from all over the place, literally every day. Like I just mentioned Michael Wood, and I am a bit embarrassed to say that I only discovered him earlier this year and absolutely fell in love with his first novel. Um, so I'm just working my way through his series, and yeah, he's another amazing, amazing writer.
Kath, who's watching, says it feels a bit more special reading books set locally and easily recognizing the locations.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think when you read about either a place where you live in crime fiction or any fiction, or a place that you're familiar with, it hits differently. Like the writer can do their best to explain what a place feels like and what it looks like so that anyone feels like they can be there, but it definitely hits different when you are from that place or you've lived there for a long time. So I would absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
See, I have spent very little time in Liverpool, but
Oh, you should come.
I genuinely got the sense of location from your book. It felt very like that it needed to be set there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it did need to be set here. I think for a few reasons that this particular book, I think it's a love letter to Liverpool for sure. I think everyone from Liverpool at some point writes a love letter to Liverpool in some way. Um, but I'm also sort of not scared of showing the other side of Liverpool. Like there's gorgeous parts of Liverpool, all of the tourist places that I talk about, all of the lovely locations like the beach. But I'm not shying away from the dark side of Liverpool, I suppose. And I think both sides of the city are just important, are just as important as each other.
Well, I don't think it would be fair to any like city to just present it as overly one thing, would
Yeah,
it?
no,
Because
no, absolutely.
every city's got some dark bits.
Absolutely. I think I say that because I'm really aware of what some people think Liverpool is like and the things that they associate Liverpool with. So I think I'm really hyper aware of showing that dark side if that's what people think Liverpool is. And so that's why I've really tried to show how beautiful the city is at the same time. And I mean, like you say, every city is the same, but I don't think every city has such a, a sort of national identity in people's minds of what they think Liverpool is. And, you know, you still get those ridiculous jokes and things about people from Liverpool being robbers and all of that type of stuff and lazy and they don't want to work. And that's just not my experience. I think people from Liverpool are some of the kindest, funniest, friendliest people in the country, and everybody here works hard to get the things that they get and the things that they want. So yeah, I'm just sort of hyper aware of what people think of the city, I think.
Yeah, so you don't want to lean into the stereotypes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I I thought I heard you mention earlier that you wanted to set a few more. You wanted to have a few more of the books in the series.
Yes. So Blackwater Rising is the first novel. Um the second novel is still a De Silva crime thriller, and it is, you know, set here in Liverpool, and it's called Better Off Dead, which is out in January next year. And the third book, whose title I can't yet say, is out in September next year as well. But that is another De Silva and Barclay novel. And that sort of brings to a close a trilogy of sorts. And I'm not saying that that would be the end of the series at all by any means, but anything beyond that would be a brand new story for Barclay and De Silva. But I really want my fourth book to be a standalone book, and I've got some ideas of the type of things that I do want to talk about there, but it will be more Liverpool, I think.
Would it also be crime standalone? Or?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I feel like I found my people in crime. I said earlier that I kind of fell into crime while I was at university doing my master's. When I was writing the first draft of this book, it was actually a horror novel called The Mud of the Mersey, and it was sort of like my own version of Stephen King's Maine. I had this chunk of Merseyside that was brand new and pushed everything out and shrunk other bits and created this really weird history where I could set these horrific and wonderful things. And I had an Australian tutor on my master's, and she was a really big writer in Australia, and we were really lucky to have her on the course. And she'd written some theory books, textbooks on crime, and was like, Sean, this should be a crime novel. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm 25,000 words into this novel. But okay, I'll give it a go, and sort of went back and made it a crime novel, and it just seemed to fit. It just seemed to lend itself to the crime genre a lot easier than it did to horror. Um, And then obviously I'd done a draft of that and had to go back and do my research on how to actually write a crime novel and what it means to be a crime writer and all of that type of stuff. So that was a lengthy but fun process.
It starting off as horror makes sense because it is quite kind of dark in places, isn't it? And I can
Yeah,
see where you've sort of gone, maybe come from that sort of genre a bit.
yeah, I, I think there are some definite horror elements in there because I do love horror. But yeah, yeah, you're right. I was trying to justify it, but no, there's no justification. It just is what it is. Yeah, there are definitely some horror elements in there, particularly on some of the chapters from the killer's point of view.
Yeah, I think there's those, and then there's like a scene where they go to sort of somewhere quite creepy, and just the way you describe it feels like it
Yeah,
could be a horror movie.
I
I'm
think
trying
I
not
know
to
what you
give away
mean.
a spoiler, but I think
I think I know the scene that you mean with the dolls. No?
there too. No, yeah, but there too. That could also work. Yeah.
Oh, now I'm wondering what other scene you meant. You'll have to tell me later.
I really like your main characters as well. I think they're brilliant.
Thank you very much. Yeah, De Silva. So when it was a horror novel, I always wanted um, the story to be about a mum who had lost her children, and by the end of the novel, she never got them back, and she sort of didn't really know what had happened to them, and that's where De Silva came from. And then obviously, as you know, De Silva doesn't have children in this book, so that's sort of why it's a trilogy. Because other things obviously happen now, but I've known De Silva for a long, long time, and I think adding in that PTSD element after something that really traumatic had happened to her, which is actually on the sleeve, so I'm actually not spoiling anything, am I? Yeah. So her husband had died by suicide, and she'd sort of developed PTSD on the back of that, which was sort of me exploring my own diagnosis of PTSD through writing this series of novels. Um, and yet, Barclay is also sort of like an exploration of how I view, how I think gay men view themselves, or maybe it's more of an explanation of how I view myself as a gay man. So yeah, they're really interesting and really complex characters, I think. And I have heard some reviews and some feedback where people have said that maybe it focuses a bit too much on the characters and the things going on in their lives, but I love that. If you're not reading a book to read about people, then I don't know what you're reading a book for.
You see, I think where some people might not like that will sell it to people like me who really love books about characters and
Yeah,
their
I'm the
relationships.
same. And
And
yeah,
I would go back to read more of your book to find out more about the people and their relationships and what's going to happen.
see, I'm a lot like you because I just think when someone has created a novel, the thing that they're writing about is some form of human experience. And I think the crime or the genre, if you like, is a backdrop to that exploration of whatever part of the human experience they're trying to talk about. And in my case, it's PTSD and it's sexuality and it's loss. Um, so I just don't see that as a bad thing, and that's what I love. I love to read in a novel. Like one of my favorite books is Stoner by John Williams, where if you've read it, you'll know that not much happens, but it's one of the most gorgeous books I think I've ever read and ever will read. So that's what I love, and so why would I not write a book like that? I think there is a space for novels where it is just thrill after thrill or plot development after plot development and not much character progression, but they're not for me and I don't really enjoy them. And I think that's why it was more important to me to develop the characters over the plot, and as I say, have these characters have this real exploration of these characters with the crime as almost a backdrop, but equally as important because you finish the book, so you kind of know the end. So all of what happens in the plot is as equally important as all of the things that have already happened to the characters.
Yeah, and I feel like although you wrap up the story, you do leave some questions that you want answering in the next book.
Yeah, so I think one of my mottos will be that I don't do happy endings, or I don't do tidy endings, because I don't like them. I hate when you get to the end of a novel and everything is lovely and wrapped up and it's got a little bow on it, and you know exactly where everybody is, exactly what everybody is up to, exactly what's happened. There's no indication that life goes on beyond that book. I don't really enjoy that. I like the thrill of knowing, like, oh, something else is going to happen here and I'm not going to get to see it or read it. So I'm going to have to invent that in my head. And I think that's one of the good things about being a reader, is that you get to do that. You get to make up your own continuation of that book. And I think what happens at the end of Blackwater Rising, in those literal last few words, is all about what book two is about. And I will say something really similar happens at the end of book two, and that's what book three is all about. And the end of book three, even though it's the end of a trilogy, the plan is not to make it tidy and not to make it neat. So even at book three, if you're expecting a nice happy ending, I'm sorry, it's not what you're going to get. Apologies.
There might be some happy moments, so maybe.
No. No. Maybe, do you know, so I've always had a plan in my head that, like, when I've told this story, this trilogy, that in a few years' time, if I'm lucky enough to still be writing and still be releasing books, that I would go back to the story and I would have some sort of ending to it. But at the moment, I kind of love the fact that that's not going to happen. But I do have a plan to go back to it in a few years' time. And when I say go back to it, I don't mean go back to the series, because I think I'll go back to that a lot sooner. But with different stories, I mean literally go back to this thing that connects these three first books together.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I know the thing that will connect them together.
Okay.
I'm
Oof.
not sure. There is an importance. Well, I know we talked about like liking the characters and stuff, but some of the things that you're talking about through your characters, it's kind of important to have just good representation in fiction of characters dealing with things like PTSD
Yeah,
and stuff like that. We need
yeah.
to be exploring that in fiction, and we need to be seeing people like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think there is a big movement at the moment to explore I keep going back to this human experience, different aspects of human experience. And it's a fact of life that some of us live with depression. It's a fact of life that some of us live with anxiety or PTSD, or some of us have autism, or some of us develop dementia in at any point in our life, really. And it's important to see those stories because they're a part of who people are. And even going as far as to say Barclay's sexuality and how he feels almost, well, he feels inferior, doesn't he, in the book? Like, there's no getting away from it. He has this inferiority complex right throughout the novel. And I do think a lot of gay men, particularly, I can't speak for gay or women, or non-binary people, but gay men in particular, I think have this feeling of inferiority, and what that is and where that comes from, I don't quite know, but I think it's worth talking about and worth getting people to think about and ask questions about, for sure.
Because on the surface, Barclay is kind of the one with like everything you think people would want, isn't he? He's got like a nice home life. He's got a partner. He's got a little like
Yeah,
child. You know, he looks like the success story.
yeah, absolutely. And I think I did that on purpose, really, for a few reasons that will become clear later on in the trilogy. Um, but the main reason was to show that, like, on the outside, you can appear like you've got all of these wonderful things and your life is sorted and it's wonderful, everything's wonderful, but actually underneath all of that, there are other things going on that everyone's got stuff going on. Everybody's got issues. Everybody has troubles with the partners, or the kids are going awry, or there's always something happening in someone's life, regardless of the things that they have and the things it looks like they have. So again, another thing that needed to be explored, I think.
I think that's an interesting point you make at one point when they're going to interview one of the families of the people who's gone missing, is that they kind of want to go and see the family because only by doing that can they understand where they're from.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're looking at the house outside and it looks a certain way, and then they go inside and what they see inside is different to what you would expect from the outside. And
Yeah, and I think that's another example of exactly of what I've just spoken about, of how things seem to appear, um, and then versus how things actually are. And I think if we're thinking of the same family, there's also that Andrew Tate-esque character in there, which I thought was really important to include, with everything that's sort of going on at the moment, and this really toxic masculinity movement that seems to be everywhere. And adolescence has just absolutely amplified the messages behind that as to why it's so important. So yeah, it's a good thing to have in there, I think.
so, can you tell us anything about book two?
um let me be really careful. So book two pretty much picks up, it could be a month or a few weeks just after the end of book one. And I'm trying to be really careful. De Silva and Barkley are still looking into this case that has started in book one. Um, Again, I'm trying not to give too much away, but the National Crime Agency are involved now, and De Silva and Barkley are put on a cold case while the NCA take over their main case. Seems a little bit outlandish, but when you get to the end of book one, I think it'll make sense why the NCA are involved. And so Barkley and De Silva end up on this cold case, and it's a case that I mentioned in book one, and it's the guy in Formby Woods, which was the case that De Silva started to investigate when Richie had committed suicide. Um, so that's loosely what it's about. I think that
I did
might be all I
wonder.
can say.
No, that's really interesting actually, because I did wonder if there was, because you mentioned that case in the beginning, don't you? And I did wonder if that was going to come back.
Yeah, so I think it's one of them, isn't it? Like, it's, they call it plant and payoff, don't they? But planting it in book one and paying it off in book two, I understand that that might frustrate a few people, but it was important to have that tie and that connection between the two books, and also to De Silva and Barkley's history, um, and sort of see a little bit of what happened there before we come back to the present.
You strike me as someone when I've read this that hasn't put anything in that book that isn't going to have a purpose or thing.
I
I feel like someone's going to read, like, we're going to read all three books, and people are going to need to go back to book one and find the little things you've hidden.
I hope that happens. I really do hope that happens. Whether I can remember all of those things is another matter. But there are certainly some things in book one that continue into book two and into book three. And yeah, as we said, there are little things that are planted in book one that are definitely in book two. And the same in book two, things are planted that, come out in book three. Um, but yeah, things are in there and people might think it's undeveloped or not explored enough, but it is, you are right, it is there with purpose.
How do you keep track of all the stuff in your book then? If you're going to carry it over a series, do you have like a little sort of note system of things to keep?
No, I don't. I'm insane. What I'm about to tell you, if you are, a new writer, I absolutely do not recommend doing what I'm doing with these three books. So I have lived with this story in my head for years and years, like 7 years now. That I know literally every inch of the main thread that connects these stories together. The other little bits that happen are me allowing myself to have that organic part of writing and enjoy creating a story around what I'm building around this thread. Um, so I know the things I need to plant. I know the things that are coming up. I know the things that I need to pay off. I know exactly where the story's going and I know exactly how it's going to end. And it's all in my brain. And I don't advise anyone to do that because it's like mental torture constantly having this story going around in your head. Have you done this? Have you done that? You're about to write this, so you're nervous. Because this is the last thing. The one that I'm on now is the one that I'm writing now is book three, and so it's the last in the trilogy, and it's taking a little bit more time to get the words out because I'm sort of really conscious about what I'm committing to paper because I need to give it a bit, well, a lot of sort of, oh my God, I feel like I've completed that story, even though, when you get to the end, it may not entirely feel that way. It's all in my brain.
Okay, fair enough. You're not following in the steps of legendary Canelo writers like Marion Todd then, and having spreadsheets and being super organised.
No, and I wish that I did. I really wish that I did, but I sort of started this way, and so I mean, I've tried to commit things to paper, but it just doesn't work for me for this for some reason. Um, but I'm determined that when I write book four, which will hopefully be a standalone story, I definitely do plan using spreadsheets and stuff because I can't do this to myself again. It's too much.
If you haven't already discovered her books, she's a
I'm
cracking author.
I'm
Marion
sorry,
Todd.
say that again. You broke up then.
I said if you haven't already discovered Marion Todd's books, give her a go.
She, yeah, she's on my list. I do follow her on Instagram, and she sounds and looks brilliant. So she's on my list of great authors to read, and I can't wait to get there. I'm doing a few panels over the next few months that I can't really talk about yet, but so I'm trying to read because as I say, I'm new to crime, so I'm discovering new authors all the time. So I'm trying to read as many of those authors as I can so I can actually talk about their work in a useful way.
That's very dedicated of you.
Oh, I think it's important to do that. Like if you go in on a panel with other writers, I think it's important to know their work so you've got something to talk about and you can always I mean I just keep talking about Michael Woods, don't I? When I found his book, like I'm absolutely a fan now. So, I'll always go back to his work and I just can't wait to find the next person that I'm a fan of. And there's other writers that I've read, like Heather Critchlow, who I absolutely just am in awe of. I'm on her third in the Cal Lovett series now, Unsound, and they're just phenomenal, really phenomenal books. And um, I hope that I get to do a panel with her at some point in the future. I would love that.
Oh, I agreed. Her books are brilliant. I think
Yeah,
it's
she's
one of
brilliant.
me and the other author chat people in our group always say that's one of the privileges of doing what we do because you get to read books for the chats to prepare for them.
Yeah,
And you discover so many new authors that way. Like there's
yeah,
so many people
absolutely.
that I'm a big fan of now that I've interviewed.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the same, isn't it, as being on panels with people and just discovering the work. Yeah, I think that's great. Absolutely great.
But I get with you as well that it's good to sort of know. I don't think you can do an interview without reading someone's book.
Oh God, no. And I think I'd be absolutely mortified if someone was speaking about their book and I had no idea what they were talking about or why they were saying it. So, no, I think it's really important and respectful to read other people, other writers' work that you're going to be sort of working closely with.
Sarah's asked you one of our favourite questions in the group, which is, have you ever acted out a scene in private or public?
No, but no, I've not ever acted out a scene, but I do. I do rehearse dialogue. I don't do it in. I don't do voices, like I don't do De Silva's voice, and then I don't do Barclay's voice as a separate one. It's all of this Paul O'Grady voice, no matter which character I'm doing. So no, but sort of yes. And I think I do that to see how it feels. Coming out of my mouth before I commit it to page, or if I've written a scene, I'll go and I'll just read the dialogue and see if it feels like De Silva or it feels like Barclay, or if it feels like O'Brien, for example. Great question, though.
We've had some cracking answers to that question over the years.
I could absolutely imagine. I mean, I hope that that changes in the future and that I feel comfortable enough to go into Liverpool city centre and fully act out one of my scenes. I would hope that that would happen when I get a little bit more confident, maybe.
The late great Mark Richards did that on Whitby Pier, reenacting
Oh,
from one of his 5 books.
oh, I love that. Oh my God. Oh, funny.
It is genius. I mean, I don't know if he's like the best answer we've ever had to that, but it's definitely.
I mean, doing it on the pier is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Sarah always also says, "What would your internet search history say about you?"
God, I always think about this and whether I'm on some government list somewhere about the things that I've researched. So I've started putting "I'm a writer" in front of any Google search that's to do with my book, or anything that I'm writing on. So, there's, with the subject matter I'm writing about, it's tricky. So I've usually relied on libraries, specifically university libraries, and got access to sort of textbooks to try and research what I'm looking into, rather than just firing off a list of keywords. I mean, you know what the book is about, so it's really dodgy ground, and I would definitely not want to be on anyone's radar. So I use books where I can, and I've been using the police library, which you can register for free. So that's been a brilliant resource to start with, and then sort of dramatize in little bits and pieces. But yeah, I just try to be really, really careful. A lot of dead things and dead people for sure. God, I didn't even look back at some of them, to be honest with you. So horrible.
I'm like 98% sure I'm probably on some kind of watch list, and that's just from the science teacher.
Oh well, at least I'm in good company then.
Some of the stuff I've googled or bought as well to do random things with, like I bought fuse wire and all sorts. So I'm pretty sure I'm on some kind of watch list.
Please be careful, for God's sake.
But it's all good. It's fine.
Yeah,
Maybe I should start
absolutely.
putting "I'm a teacher" in my search.
See, if you do that, I think you'll be off that list for sure.
I like your hint about the registering for the police library. I've never heard anyone else talk about that. That's like a good
Wow. Yeah,
first.
I didn't know that you could do this until literally I was writing book 2, and there are certain things you can dramatize, there are certain things you can fictionalize, but there are other things that you need to get right. And the police library just sort of popped up when I was Googling, how would a police person investigate XYZ? And then the police library came up and you could just register for an account. And yeah, I was just able to log in. I could view things. I'm hoping that this is open to the public and I've not just somehow managed to get access when I shouldn't have. But there was loads of resources in there, particularly around like police investigation and how things go. And it's not in full detail, but it gives you enough hint um, to be able to give your work a sense of realism for sure.
Donna has just said that she didn't know that was a thing, and it's the best thing she's learnt today.
Oh, God, I really hope that this is a legal thing. I'm absolutely sure it is. I'm sure the police library would have said, no, you're not a police officer. Please go away. But yeah, I'm in, and I use it. So
it's probably fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
I'll say it is. Well, I mean, university libraries, like, you use them and you're not a student, so.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's, the police force is like a public funded thing, isn't it? So I'm assuming it's something to do with that, like, because it's public money, they have to show certain things or let the public have access to certain volumes and stuff. So I hope.
She said if it's not, she's coming for you.
Oh God, please. Well, as long as it's just you and you don't bring the police with you, that's absolutely fine.
Who knows? I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
There's some ex-police people in the group who are always good at answering questions and things as well.
Oh, that's a good hint. I'll remember that for sure. Absolutely.
We had a little list of experts. And I've made a new thread of people who were it. I don't know if I ever turned it into a document, but there's quite a lot of experts on various things in the group.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, what a great resource. Then maybe I don't need the police library after all. It made me feel better asking people from this group rather than using that library.
They do. Periodically, we sort of have a panel in the group with the experts. Like, we'll get sort of like Graham Bartlett and people to come on.
Oh, wow.
All sorts of
that's
things.
amazing. I saw Graham Bartlett at an event recently, actually. Yeah, he's a great guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Sarah wants to know if you've got any events planned.
Yes. So I am at the Curious Cat Bookshop in Frodsham on let me just look at my calendar, the 24th of April. And then I have sorry, the calendar's all the way over there, and I've got really bad eyesight. And then I have an event at Waterstones in Liverpool 1 on the 15th of May. And then I am at Harrogate. This has been announced, so I can share it. I'm at Harrogate in July from the 17th, and I'm hosting a authors dinner table on the 18th, which I've never done before, so I'm really nervous about that. I think I'll just have to have a few wines and hope for the best. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm going to be there all weekend, but that is the only activity that I'm involved in. And then there are a few other things that I can't talk about. One of them is the end of May, but it's not yet announced. And then there are other things later on in the year that I can't yet talk about because they're also not announced. But yeah, there are loads coming up, which is great, and I'm really grateful for.
You're coming to our event, aren't you, I think?
I am. I knew there was one I'd missed.
There you go, 27th of September.
There we go. Yes, it's there. It's there. I can see it.
I knew I had you booked. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one for sure. I can't wait. Can't wait to come to Leeds and do that.
This is because you're in Liverpool, you see, because I'd messaged Kate at Canelo and said I'm booking someone in for the event. Have you got any other suggestions? And she was like, oh, Sean's in Liverpool and he could catch the train with Sarah.
Yeah, I drive. I think we're gonna drive. I think we've said that um we'd do a car share, I think. I don't rely on the trains. I think they're just so unreliable, aren't
Just
they?
as a pre-warning, parking in Leeds is ridiculously expensive.
Oh, okay, that's
Just as
fine.
a heads up. You can do park and ride though on the outskirts of the city. I think that's cheaper.
All
I
right.
don't drive, so this is not a problem for me, but it is like it is. So
I'll
I'm
look
giving
into.
you advice and I don't drive, so I can't I'm not helpful in
Oh
any
no,
way whatsoever,
that's
but
good advice. I'll absolutely look into that closer to the time and decide what we're gonna do. It's up to Sarah if she wants to get the train, then that's what we'll do. But yeah, I'm up for whatever.
and I will definitely meet you at Harrogate as well.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, make sure you come and say hello. I I'm really looking forward to Harrogate, to be honest with you. It's the first time I've ever been, so I'm absolutely buzzing to get an invite to do something with them. So yeah, I just can't wait to go. And I know it's huge. I know a lot of people go. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it. So if anyone comes, make sure you come and say hello and introduce yourself. I'd love that.
It's kind of fun to just hang out in the beer tent and chat to people.
I've heard that the beer tent is a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm also looking forward to that for sure.
Well, it's
But
kind of mostly what I do. I sort of go for a day and just hang out in the beer tent and chat to people.
yeah, I'm up for that for sure. Definitely. I do love a little beer. I'm also planning on going to they have baths there, don't they? So think I'm gonna have a little afternoon there or a morning and just have a little chill one of the days. Because I heard that it can be a little bit overwhelming. So I'm all about relaxation and having a little spa days and stuff. I love it. So
Oh,
um
I
yeah,
don't
that's what
think
I'll
I've
be
ever
doing.
been to the spa, so I should do it.
It looks brilliant. I had a little look of it online and I was like, yep, that is a Sean Watkin place for sure. I'll be there. I'll be there.
Go to Betty's afterwards and relax with the tea as well.
Yeah, I've heard about this. So yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to taking in all of the sites. I've never been to Harrogate before in my life, I don't think. But I was in York the other day and I saw a sign for Harrogate and got really excited. So yeah, I can't wait. Absolutely can't wait to
I
be
was
there.
in York today.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know, it is such a gorgeous, gorgeous city. Um, we went for my partner's birthday, and we just absolutely fell in love with it. It's so, so lovely, such a lovely place and such a lovely vibe. Yeah, I love it, and we can't wait to go back.
It's where I got married, York.
R- Really? Oh,
So
wow.
we have like the odd like a little stroll past our venue and
Oh,
things when we go to be a
oh,
bit
that's cute.
romantic.
That is romantic. That's lovely. I love
Well,
that.
I'm saying that like we have actually any romantic bones in our bodies.
I'm the same. I am not romantic in the least. Like I just it feel like it my brain doesn't connect with that, and it should. It really should.
Um, tell me what you've read recently. I'm trying to get us back on the topic of books.
I'm
You see,
sorry.
we
Yeah,
got off. We went. We got sidetracked from talking about Harrogate. We were doing so
yeah.
well. Tell me what you've read recently and really enjoyed.
Okay, so I have finished The Departed by Sarah Miller, which is another Liverpool set novel set in 1979. Um, which is a police procedural, and it's what I would call a quiet book. It's not sort of um, it's not full of like lots of twists and thrills and turns, but it's just beautifully, beautifully written. Um, really great characters, really great story. That obviously there are some twists in there, but it's not like Hard and Coben type changes every chapter. But it's beautiful, and I would recommend it to anybody. I have just finished Michael Wood's first book in the Matilda Dark series, which I absolutely adored. I am on the third book of Heather Critchlow's Cal Lovett series, and I've loved every single one of them. I'm only like halfway through, I think, of that book, and so far I'm loving it. And I know there's a fourth one out in the next few months, and I can't wait to get my hands on a copy of that. But one that I'm really excited to get into is this by Trevor Wood. I can't wait to read it. And this is his new one, The Silent Killer. And I'm so excited to get to it. But I have to say that I have taken a little break from crime, and I was a big Gregory Maguire Wicked fan when that came out, and I've read all of the books in that series, the Wicked years, and then he released a trilogy after that called Another Day, which were great as well, set in the same universe but not in Oz. And his most recent book, Elfie, A Wicked Childhood, which sort of enjoying, but sort of not. And I wonder if reading crime has ruined Gregory Maguire for me. I'm expecting a little bit too much, maybe. But I'm still enjoying it. I am, and I'll always read Gregory Maguire books no matter what. So I've got quite an eclectic taste there, but always crime at some point. And yeah, I think my favorite one out of the most recent ones that I've read is definitely Michael Wood, I think.
Good answer.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and he's a really, really talented writer. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with an eclectic taste.
No, absolutely. So, I think when I was doing my undergraduate, there was advice from some of the tutors that, you should read in the genre that you're writing, and I was like, yeah, great. But I've come to the conclusion that's not always the best thing to do, and you should read more broadly and read outside of your own genre, and read things that are completely nothing to do with the genre that you're writing. Like I mentioned, Stoner before by John Williams, not crime or horror or anything, and Gregory Maguire also not crime or horror. But I think they give you a slightly different edge to your writing because they're doing different things. And really interestingly, when I read Gregory Maguire books, I start writing my sentences back to front. And it was something that I picked up on when I was workshopping with one of my good friends, Emma Carey. She was like, "Why are your sentences back to front?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know where this is coming from or why this has started." And then I was reading Another Day by Gregory Maguire, I think The Witch of Maricourt, and some of his sentences were were back to front. So the end would be at the beginning, and the beginning would be at the end, but it would make complete sense. Um, and it was just in my head to write like that. Isn't that really weird? So I think, wherever you're reading, you're taking influences from it, whether you realize that you're doing that or not.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
So, because you are a debut author, I can ask you some about old questions that I haven't asked people for a while.
Okay.
And one of my favourite ones to ask is: would you make a graphic novel version of one of your books, or of your book?
Would I make, or would I be happy if someone made it?
Either.
Okay, I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't know how to do it. I wouldn't know how to do it. If someone said, "Listen, I want to make a graphic novel out of your book," I'd be a little bit concerned, maybe, only because, once someone takes a book and they interpret it, it's exactly that. It's their interpretation of what you've written and the characters that you've created and the world that you've built. And I just worry about how different that would be and whether I would still like it and still recognize it. But I'd also be really super flattered because I know that writing graphic novels is an art form, isn't it? Well, it's literal art, isn't it? So I'd be super, super flattered if someone wanted to do that. But I'd have to have a discussion. I'd have to have a discussion with them about it, I think, about what the plans were, what their intentions were with De Silva and Barkley. But no, I would not be averse to that at all. But no, I would not do that myself.
And I always ask that because I'm basically a nerd and love graphic novels. Sam's favourite question is, if Netflix come knocking to make an adaptation of your book, who would you play?
Who would I what, sorry?
Who would you play?
Oh, sorry, it broke up again.
Who would you play in the book?
Who would I play? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Do you know I'd really like to play? Louis Lamont.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I think I'd love to play him because I had so much fun writing chapters from his perspective, that like literal fun. Like I enjoyed the change of pace, the change of the view of the world, and how he views women and things. I just enjoyed writing something that was so far from who I am as a person that, yeah, I think I'd love to play. I'm not sure what that says about me, but yeah.
that was not the answer I was expecting.
Okay, what were you thinking
No,
that I was
I
gonna say?
don't know. Normally, when we ask people that, they go, "Oh no, I wouldn't be any good at like playing anyone. I'd just make a cameo or something like that."
Oh, no, if I'm going for it, if I'm getting offered a role, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna take it with both hands,
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
it was a good answer. I like it.
Thank you.
Um, I don't know. I don't know if you could play Lewis in my head. I think you're too nice.
Oh, no, no. See, this is the thing though, isn't it? Like, I think like if they put a wig on and they grew my beard out a little bit more and they muddied up my face and changed the way that I dress, I feel like I would just sink into his character 100%. And I know exactly what he thinks, and I know if he saw a particular person and what he'd feel about them without actually knowing them. Um, so I just feel like I'd be all right with that. A little interesting fact is that those chapters, from Louis Lamont's perspective, were never actually supposed to be in the book. And the first chapter that I wrote from his perspective was just me writing to understand who he was. And then I ended up loving it so much. And I said to, my workshop group, what do you think of this? And they were like, yes, this is what the book needs at this point. The energy is completely different. And I just feel like it would shock people to get to that point and meet this character face to face. And I was like, yes, he's staying. Interesting fact for you there.
That's a good one. And then we've got about a minute left. So
Okay.
remind people who are watching what they are going to go away and buy if they haven't already done so.
If you've not already bought it, this is my debut novel, Blackwater Rising. It is about DCI De Silva and DS Barkley, and they are really troubled detectives with a complex relationship with their lives, their pasts, and with each other. And they all have to come together to solve these series of crimes around missing and murdered teenage girls. I think I did a better job of summing that up then than I did at the start.
You did a good job both times. And then all
Thank
that's
you.
left to say is thanks for joining us.
No, thank you so much for having me. Enjoyed it.